Dragon Ball. Sign into the immortal body at the beginning. Chapter 41. It seems that the means are still too gentle. Li Shu sighed, and his gaze at the 8 people gradually became cold. He had lost his patience and decided to kill these people directly, even if it caused a gap between him and Goku, he would not hesitate to do so. Just then, a loud siren sounded in the distance. 2 police cars came at a gallop, and a beautiful drift stopped in front of Li Shu and the others. Who called the police? 2 police officers, a man and a woman, walked down from the police car, and the male police officer asked with a small notebook. The female police officer looked around, and when she saw the blood books all over the ground and the 8 ruffians, she suddenly understood, waved her hand and said, "It doesn't matter who reported to the police, these are habitual offenders, take them all back." Huang, Mao and the others, who were sitting on the ground, were all excited the moment they saw the police, as if they saw their own father and mother. Yes, it's our own police who have arrested us, and put us in prison quickly. Huang Mao seemed to see a savior, and excitedly grabbed the hand of the male police officer, and kept urging. The others were the same, eager to be captured. Ding! Achievement Quest Ring, Punish Rape and Eradicate Evil. The current progress is 2/300, and you will get a reward after the progress is completed. Hero Title, Achievement Value plus 5000. Li Shu couldn't help but be stunned. This is done. But this progress seems a little wrong, isn't there 8 people? Why did you get 1 point of progress? However, after thinking about it carefully, Li Shu also figured it out. This punishment of rape and evil is not calculated according to the head, but according to the event. As long as one treacherous thing is solved, the mission should be completed. It seems that I thought it was complicated from the beginning, and I knew that I would call the police directly. Li Shu couldn't help but smile bitterly. At this time, the female police officer walked over to him, and after making some simple inquiries, she quickly left with the 8 people. After the incident, the owner of the hotel ran out excitedly and thanked Li Shu. "Sir, you have done a great thing." Quote. Yes, after this lesson, they should not dare to do evil again. Another resident said. "You are our hero." The residents came out one after another, not sparing their praises and praising Li Shu. In order to thank Li Shu for driving out the wicked for them, the residents sent their own gifts. The owner of the restaurant is the most realistic. He said that he would return the money for the meal to Li Shu, which was a huge sum of 500,000 yuan. Wukong looked at this scene blankly, and in the understanding just now, he also knew the evil deeds of those wicked people, which was indeed disgusting. He somewhat understood the eldest brother's behavior. Even if the eldest brother killed these people, he would not think that the eldest brother had done wrong. Looking at Wukong, whose brows had been stretched out, and he was smirking in the appreciation of the residents, Li Shu's mood was also good. Saying goodbye to the residents, Li Shu and Wukong continued to fly towards Masruta in the north. Big brother, is there really such a bad person in the world? Wukong's voice was a little low, and this incident seemed to have affected him a lot. Li Shu also saw the optimistic and naive Wukong for the first time, showing such an expression. He suddenly became a little curious, and couldn't help asking, what evil things did they do? Quote. Big brother, do you know what rape means? Goku asked suspiciously. This. Li Shu is not easy to explain. After all, Wukong is still in the stage of showing his little cock at will, and he doesn't feel embarrassed at all, and he is completely blank in this aspect. Even if he explains, he is afraid that it will be difficult to understand. It takes a lot of time to give Wukong enlightenment education. Li Shukai is too lazy to do this kind of thing, they are self-taught in their time. Doesn't the eldest brother know? Goku was a little disappointed and continued, I heard from the residents that those wicked people once raped an old lady. Li Shu couldn't hold back in an instant, and looked at Wukong in astonishment, raping the old lady. The rape was a great blow to the old lady, and she later chose to commit suicide. They also robbed a father of the money he had given his daughter to save her life, and the little girl died in the hospital because she had no money for treatment, and then the father went to settle accounts with them, only to be severely humiliated, and then committed suicide. Wukong kept talking, and Li Shu listened quietly on the side. In Wukong's telling, the evil deeds of the yellow-haired guys can be described as unspeakable. Li Shu, who once lived in the era of big data, has actually seen these evil deeds quite often, except for raping the old lady, which is simply outrageous. Therefore, when he heard about these crimes, Li Shu's heart did not have much turmoil, but he regretted it a little. He shouldn't have cared about Wukong's emotions just now, and he should have slaughtered these scum directly. After knowing the truth, Wukong should be able to understand himself, right? After so many years of getting along, Li Shu has already regarded Wukong as his own brother, and he cares a lot about Wukong's opinion of him. Wukong, I regret it now, I want to turn around and kill them, do you want to be together? Li Shu interrupted Wukong's speech and said seriously. Wukong was silent for a moment, nodded and said, Big brother, I can't do it, but I want to teach them a lesson with my own hands. Li Shu showed a smile, and under his influence, Wukong's personality seemed to have undergone a subtle change. Immediately, the two turned around in an instant and quickly chased in the direction of the police car. Wukong, they are in the police car after all, and the nature of things has changed, so we can't reveal our identities. Li Shu looked down and said murderously. Wukong nodded as if he didn't understand, only to see a full moon slowly rising between Li Shu and his hand. Transform, you fight first, and I'll clean up the aftermath after the fight. Two police cars sped down the road, each escorting 4 criminals. In the police car driven by the female police officer, Huang Mao shouted, I said police officer, we are already old acquaintances, you know, even if we are arrested, at most it will be a matter of picking quarrels and provoking troubles for a few days, it is better to let us go now, everyone will save a little trouble. Also, I'm going to call the police. It was the man who was beating us, and we were the victims. Hurry up and call reinforcements to arrest that man, too. He's so strong, I'm afraid you two won't be able to subdue him. Quote. Shut up. The chattering yellow hair annoyed the female police officer. To be honest, she was also full of helplessness about this kind of ruffian. Caught every once in a while, caught and released, released and caught, she was indeed a little annoyed, and she couldn't wait to shoot this group of fools. But they are disciplined and can't do that. She kept wondering, when will these hit the hard stubble? And then he was beaten to death directly. Then, I received a call from the police to collect the body, which was really cool. Jing Yuya never thought that the thing she fantasized about would really happen. It's just that the scene in front of her is a little different from what she imagined. 2 fierce giant apes blocked their way. The fierce aura that came to the face made people shudder, and a touch of fear was spreading in their hearts. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to offend, we just wanted to teach these scoundrels a lesson. One of the giant apes spoke and seemed quite polite. Jing Yuya and another male police officer were already frightened, sitting in the car at a loss, watching this scene dumbfounded. Soon the giant ape lifted their police car like pinched ants, and put the 2 police officers down safely. Then he shook the car body frantically and poured out the villains inside like beans. After falling from high school, Huang Mao and the others immediately let out a painful wail, and they had multiple fractures all over their bodies. What kind of monster is this? Huang Mao and the others were also frightened, crawled towards the 2 police officers who were stunned, and begged for help. Help us. Come and save us. What are you kidding? Ask for yourselves. The male officer's eyes widened, his whole body trembled uncontrollably, and he said ruthlessly. While Jing Yuya was afraid, she also watched this scene excitedly, hoping that these 2 giant apes would immediately trample on this group of scum. The giant ape Wukong didn't suppress the violent aura in his body too much, and even took the initiative to let a wisp of violent aura invade his mind. He grabbed it with both hands, grabbed the yellow hair and others who were rolling all over the ground in his hands, and then shook it wildly. After a few laps, Huang Mao and the others were already foaming at the mouth and convulsing. The giant ape Wukong threw them to the ground, and the sound of bones shattering came and went, apparently all the bones in his body had been broken. He stretched out another finger and kept poking at Huang Mao and the others. It's too weak. Soon, Goku the giant ape loses interest in them, and he is not a person who likes to bully the weak. Seeing that the giant ape did not kill this group of scum, a trace of disappointment flashed in Jing Yuya's eyes, and she was even a little angry. In the end, she had to call an ambulance to take the scum to the hospital for treatment. But soon, another giant ape made a move, only to see a few green beans fly out of his hand and burrow into the mouths of Huang Mao and the others. Huang Mao and the others, who had already fainted in pain, were instantly resurrected with full blood. Such a familiar feeling made the yellow hare's pupils shrink suddenly. Demon. It's the demon that's coming. Huang Mao was frightened and desperate to escape from this place. Li Shu watched this scene playfully, like pinching an ant, pinched the yellow hare, and flicked his lower body with his other hand. The sound of broken eggs suddenly sounded, and all the male compatriots present couldn't help but clamp their legs, except for Wukong. Next, the rough voice of the giant ape Li Shu hovered in the air. One by one, they pinched them up and did the same thing. Soon, the 8 people present all became eunuchs, clutching their crotches on the ground and wailing in pain, bleeding all over the ground. In such a harsh environment, castration carries a great risk of death. After a while, Huang Mao and the others didn't know whether they had lost too much blood or were dying of pain, and they had no movement or breath. Old lady, I have avenged you. Li Shu muttered, and turned around and left with Wukong. Ding. Achievement Quest Ring. Punish rape and eliminate evil. The current progress is 3/300, and you will get a reward after the progress is completed. Hero title, achievement value plus 5000. Jing Yuya looked at the 8 corpses that died tragically on the ground, and her complicated feelings could not be calmed down for a long time. On the other side, Li Shu and Wukong, who had been lifted from their transformations, put on their new clothes again and continued to move towards Masruta in the north. Haha, they actually hurt to death, it's the first time I've seen such a way of dying. Goku smiled innocently. Li Shu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he saw this. It seems that this incident did not have any bad impact on Wukong. To Li Shu's surprise, the progress of the task of punishing adultery and eliminating evil has increased a little again. Is it because of the reason for helping the old lady to take revenge? This reminded him a lot, and he also had new ideas about how to accomplish this task. After this incident, every time Li Shu passed through a village or town, he would choose to stay for a while, deliberately showing some money, to see if he could meet someone who was destined, and let him brush up on the progress of the task of punishing adultery and eliminating evil. The full 5,000 achievement points were so tempting that he didn't know how to spend them. Red Ribbon Corps Headquarters. Colonel Saruba stood in front of the Commander-in-Chief with a heavy face. How did you promise me before you went? The Commander-in-Chief said with a dissatisfied face. A trace of embarrassment flashed on Colonel Saruba's face, and he hurriedly said, Report to the Commander-in-Chief, I have underestimated the enemy, and I am willing to be punished. Quote. Punishment. The Commander-in-Chief said with a playful face, You are also an old man of the Legion, you know that our Red Ribbon Legion does not raise waste. I hope the Commander-in-Chief will give me another chance, I have brought back important information. Colonel Saruba pleaded. Oh. What intelligence? They're not people. That's what you call important intelligence. The Commander-in-Chief's face was a little unpleasant. This is only the first important information, and the second important information is that they can transform into giant apes, which have extremely strong destructive power, and the latest weapon that Dr. Groh has researched has no effect on them. Speaking of this, Colonel Saruba looked frightened. The Commander-in-Chief was finally moved, he knew all too well how powerful the weapon Dr. Groh had researched. It can be said that the reason why the Red Ribbon Legion has achieved today's achievements is due to Dr. Groh's contributions, and the thermal weapons he has developed are very important. It can also be said that the Red Ribbon Legion was created by Dr. Groh. You can escape from them and bring back such important information, and it doesn't seem to be that wasteful. The Commander-in-Chief praised. But this compliment fell on the ears of Colonel Saruba, but it was so harsh and sarcastic. He smiled bitterly. They took the initiative to let me back, and even saved my life. Saved your life and let you come back. Is there something you want to bring to me? The Commander-in-Chief asked. Not bad. Colonel Saruba continued. There was a magical bean in the monster's hand, I was seriously injured and dying at the time, but after eating that magical bean, my injury recovered instantly, and my body returned to its peak condition. This is the third important piece of information I brought back. And such a miraculous bean. Looking at Saruba, who had an inviting face, the Commander-in-Chief pursed his lips and asked, What did he ask you to bring? Colonel. Saruba took a deep breath and said solemnly, He said that let's prepare the collected Dragon Balls, and he will take them in 7 days. Quote. Hearing such arrogant remarks, the commander-in-chief couldn't help laughing. Does he think that our Red Ribbon Legion only has thermal weapons? To be the enemy of our Red Ribbon Legion is to seek death. After the commander-in-chief sneered, he muttered, "It seems that they are also collecting Dragon Balls and know the secrets of Dragon Balls. And their Dragon Ball radar, which is more compact and accurate, can be carried around." Colonel Saruba said, glancing at the huge radar screen. "What? That's impossible. Our Dragon Ball radar, but it cost a lot of money and time, and theirs is actually better than ours." The commander-in-chief said with some anger. "Then even their Dragon Ball radar will be snatched together. Is there anything else you want to say?" Colonel Saruba hesitated for a moment and said, "Report to the commander-in-chief. I don't think we are his opponents, and it is not a wise choice to compete with them for the Dragon Balls, I suggest." The commander-in-chief's face was full of displeasure, and he stopped Saruba from continuing, apparently not listening. Colonel Saruba wanted to say something, but felt that something was wrong with the atmosphere, so he finally chose to shut up and turn to leave. But what he didn't know was that the silence he chose this time would be permanent. At the moment when he turned around, a gunshot rang out behind him, and a sharp pain suddenly came from his chest, and he soon lost consciousness. Saruba fell to the ground with a shocked face, and until the moment before he died, he did not think that he had not died at the hands of the monster, but at the hands of his own people. And he died at the hands of the commander-in-chief whom he respected the most. Do you still want to take credit? Do you want me to give up competing for Dragon Ball? What stupid rubbish. The commander-in-chief waved his hand and ordered Saruba's body to be dragged down. Called General Blue over. Looking at the signal on the giant Dragon Ball radar, the commander-in-chief said again, "Inform General White who is sitting in Masruta of the information just now." Quote. Masruta is also a branch of the Red Ribbon Legion, headed by the White Commander, General White, who is far superior to Colonel Saruba. Moreover, Masruta has a lot of organs, and there are androids and purple ninjas and monsters big fat dragon, and he is full of confidence in this. After receiving the instructions, General White replied with confidence, "Don't worry, Commander-in-Chief, I have already found a Dragon Ball here. As long as they dare to come and grab it, I will let them come and go, and present the Dragon Ball radar and Dragon Ball." The Commander-in-Chief warned, "Colonel Saruba has failed and been executed by me. I hope you will not let me down." Quote. After hanging up Masruta's communication, General Blue came on order. The commander-in-chief repeated the previous events, and then said, "Now lead your entire blue team to Masruta to receive the Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball radar, and then collect the remaining Dragon Balls." Quote. General Blue is the most formidable of their Red Ribbon Legion, and he has full confidence in him as well. Leaving the task of collecting Dragon Balls in the hands of General Blue, he is also very relieved. General Blue was handsome, holding a rose in his hand, and took on the task with confidence on his face. On the other side, Li Shu, who was sitting on the dinosaur's lap, had a look of disappointment on his face. Along the way, he passed through 7 villages and towns, large and small, but he did not meet a single person who was destined to do so. The progress of punishing adultery and eliminating evil is still at 3, and the full progress of 300 seems to be far away. The smooth beginning, and the successive encounters with destined people, made him subconsciously ignore the original difficulty of this task. Now that I think about it, if I want to make a full progress of 300, I am afraid that it will not be able to be completed without 3 years and 5 years without this mechanism that is not counted by the head and by the event. Big brother, it's so cold. Not long after the two of them went deep into the north, the bad cold weather was a little unbearable with Wukong's physique. Li Shu was also cold, so he hurriedly took out 2 sets of cotton clothes and changed them with Wukong. "Wukong, this is also the way we have to practice," Li Shu said again. After collecting the Dragon Balls, the eldest brother plans to be a hero who walks the world, punishing adultery and eliminating evil. Do you want to be with the eldest brother? Quote. A hero who walks the world. Is it a new way of practice? Wukong obviously didn't understand the meaning of punishing the evil and the hero. Sort of, but the improvement of strength is not very obvious. The main thing is to cultivate the mind, which can make us understand the world more clearly. Maybe there will be some unexpected gains, who knows? Li Shu took a bite of the dinosaur leg under his crotch and said beautifully. This mount, which can be eaten and used as a weapon, is really worry-free. Big brother, give me some to eat. Wukong drove the somersault cloud closer, and opened his mouth to bite. The dinosaur's legs swayed, and he sensitively avoided Wukong's bloody mouth, screaming at Wukong's wow and wah, and chased a nod behind him, and Li Shu laughed when he saw it. Masruta Command Room. Report to General White, 2 non-flying objects have been found in the surveillance footage. General White ordered, enlarge the picture and let me see if it's the 2 men, the commander said. As the surveillance footage zoomed in, the people in the command room were stunned. A golden cloud. What kind of flying machine is this? Could it be the legendary somersault cloud? Isn't this thing extinct? General White was puzzled for a moment, and then he recognized the somersault cloud, which was produced in the north, and its legend was known to the old people who lived in the north, and he had been in the north for many years, so he naturally learned of this legend. I didn't expect to be able to see it with my own eyes today, and General White's heart suddenly became hot, but it was quickly extinguished. Even if you grab it, it's useless. This thing can only be controlled by a person with a pure heart, and he is obviously no longer there. The somersault cloud is understandable, but what is that flying roasted dinosaur leg that is charred on the outside and tender on the inside? And it seems that it is still emitting heat, which is a bit outrageous, completely beyond the scope of General White's comprehension. In the command room, everyone who saw this picture had a question mark on their faces. But that's not the point, and they quickly turned their attention to Li Shu and Wukong. It's them, big and small, monsters with tails, exactly the same as the news from headquarters. General, do you need to take them down? A soldier asked. That shit in Suruba said they weren't afraid of our munitions. General White looked dismissive. Why am I so disbelieving? Call me. With General White's order, the artillery erected on Masruta was all aimed at the 2 targets flying in the distance. Fire. Rumble. Rumble. The deafening sound of artillery fire came and went, and countless powerful fires soared into the sky. Li Shu, who was chasing and playing with Wukong, suddenly moved the tip of his nose, smelled a little bit of danger, and was rapidly approaching them. Although this little danger will not cause much harm to him, it will still feel pain. Wukong, fly higher. As soon as Li Shu spoke, he rose hundreds of meters above the clouds. Wukong didn't have a fighting nose, so he followed for some reason, and he was about to ask when he saw countless fires below whizzing past their original location. I saw that those shells hit the lonely mountain in the distance and made a violent roar, setting off countless winds and snow, and the mountain trembled violently, causing a large avalanche in an instant. Someone is sneaking up on us. Wukong said angrily. Li Shu frowned and looked in the direction where the shells were coming from. First of all, he didn't offend anyone here. Secondly, this firepower is a bit fierce, and it should hurt a lot if you don't transform into a giant ape. Sneak attack, not talking about martial arts, which made Li Shu very angry. Why did you attack me? Li Shu thought for a moment, and once again summoned the holographic Dragon Ball radar, magnifying the picture of the 2 planets. Sadly, the picture is empty, and the 2 planets lie quietly in a beautiful box. After trying to adjust the angle and distance, nothing was found except that it was a treasure room, full of gold and silver treasures. It's a pity that the position of this eye is not plugged in properly. Li Shu turned off the picture regretfully, but he already had a rough guess in his heart. Judging by the firepower of the opposing side, it is clear that it is an extremely strong armed force. Maybe you entered the other party's airspace. With the memories of more than 20 years ago, Li Shu could not recall what place Masruta was and what the forces were. However, judging from the other party's means of not talking about martial arts, it is not a good stubble. Could it be the forces of the Red Ribbon Legion? Li Shu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Such a powerful private arm. It seems that in the Dragon Ball world, there is only the Red Ribbon Army, right? Because his memory was too long, Li Shu did not remember that there were other powerful armed forces. The more he thought about it, the more Li Shu felt that it was very likely. In the original book, in the process of collecting Dragon Balls, Wukong's most powerful opponent was the Red Ribbon Army. And there have been many conflicts. It makes sense when you think about it this way. Suruba must have reported his information to the headquarters, and after they learned where they went, they informed the forces in the north of Masruta, so they will attack so decisively after seeing me. So the two planets are in their hands. In this way, it will be easy to do, and there is no psychological burden to grab it directly. Quote. It can also brush up on the progress of punishing rape and eliminating evil, which is perfect. Thinking of this, Li Shu became excited, and things that kill two birds with one stone can always make people full of motivation. For such a tall tower, there must be a lot of enemies, so it shouldn't just give me 1 point of progress, right? On the other side, the Masruta command. General White looked at the surveillance footage in disbelief. They even dodged the attack. How strong is it to have a sense of crisis and reaction to do this? Go on. I don't believe I can't beat them. With General White's order, the dense firelight instantly lit up. However, all of this was no threat to Li Shu, who had that nose of battle, and he could always dodge these attacks before danger came. Dodging once can be said to be accidental, but if you can dodge such a dense attack again and again, then there is only one possibility. I'm afraid that the other party is really, as Colonel Saruba said, the other party is ridiculously strong, and the attacks of these thermal weapons have no effect on them. After seeing it with his own eyes, he had to admit that there was a reason for the waste in Saruba. Open all the traps of Masruta, and wait for them to die. General White stopped the useless means of attack and started a new round of ambush plans, intending to catch turtles in an urn. With the powerful combat power mastered by Masruta, he has absolute confidence that Li Shu and Sun Wukong will never return. Masruta's repeated attacks successfully angered Li Shu and Wukong, and he instantly started a full-speed sprint, and the distance between him and Masruta was rapidly narrowed. Since they don't talk about martial arts, we don't need to salute first and then soldier, Wukong, we will directly transform and kill them later. Li Shu's face was cold, and under the baptism of the wind, the edges and corners of his face became more distinct. Big brother, I want to try my limits, the battle after transforming into a giant ape is too boring. However, Goku doesn't like crushing battles and rejects Li Shu's offer. Li Shu was not surprised by this, after all, this is Wukong's character. Changing a person's personality is no less difficult than changing a person's personality. If you think about it carefully, if you really lose the purpose of cultivation by crushing all the way, your personal strength will not be trained. If I'm not mistaken, Dao Baibai, who is known as the #1 killer in the world, has not yet made a move, and the great demon king of Vic after the next martial arts conference is over, they are all strong opponents. But these are easy to solve, for him and Wukong after transforming into a giant ape, these are scum, and they can't be regarded as opponents anymore, and they can barely be regarded as sparring partners under normal conditions. The main enemies are Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta, the three last Saiyans, who came to Earth a few years later. Because they also have the ability to transform into giant apes. However, for Li Shu, who has been able to transform into a Super Saiyan, he is still not a powerful enemy, and can only be regarded as a high-level sparring partner. Thinking of this, Li Shu agreed to Wukong's proposal and took the opportunity to hone his combat awareness. But to be honest, Li Shu prefers to crush, although he has Saiyan blood. He is not very warlike in his bones, and he can always suppress the belligerent gene in Saiyan blood. Now he is in a very good state, he can play the world, and no one can beat him, and the enemy who can really be regarded as an opponent will have to wait until Frieza appears. At the rate at which his current strength is improving, when Frieza appears, I'm afraid he will only be a more advanced sparring partner. It's a little stressful, but it's not a big feeling. With just a little shot and a little effort, you're already invincible. Li Shu and Wukong have come to the sky above Masruta at this moment, looking down on this tower, and they can clearly see the figures inside through the glass. A muscular man with a strong body was also looking at them through the window, with a sneer on his face. The muscular man was none other than General White, and his voice came through the microphone from the loudspeaker placed outside the tower. It seems that the failure of that waste in Saruba has made your self-confidence a little overinflated, and you dare to come here to seek death. Ding. Trigger the achievement quest, Destroy Masruta, which rewards Breath Almighty. The smile on Li Shu's face gradually expanded, and it seemed that he was going to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Thinking that there will be another achievement value in the account, Li Shu is in a very good mood. He now has 74 points of achievement, and he plans to save up to 100 points and rush a wave of invisibility epiphany potion which is bound to succeed in comprehension in one fell swoop. Then he raised the primary immortal bean can a little, and with the speed at which he squandered the immortal beans, the yield of 1 piece a day was a bit insufficient. When the time comes, when punishing rape and eliminating evil, he will become a barefoot doctor, first beat him half to death, and then feed a fairy bean. Maybe he can get stuck with a bug and trigger the achievement of saving lives and helping the wounded. Dare to come in. I have a 2-planet here. General White said excitedly, full of confidence in Masruta. Then you're welcome. Li Shu smiled, landed on the ground with Wukong, pushed open the door of Masruta, and walked in without the slightest hesitation. Combat strength. 5 combat effectiveness. 5 combat effectiveness. 5. As soon as he entered, Li Shu saw a group of scumbags of war, looking at them with a playful face. He was a little funny, but he really didn't understand where they got their confidence. Come to think of it, these forces that rely on powerful weapons to dominate one side do not understand that in the face of the truly strong, the tactics of crowds are meaningless. Just like Colonel Saruba, he thinks he is strong when he is 1 against 10, and he is undoubtedly a frog at the bottom of the well. This reminded Li Shu of Satan, who performed live in front of Shalu to split tiles with his bare hands as a way to show his strength. Even after more than 20 years, thinking of this picture now makes him want to laugh. Ha ha. One didn't hold back. Li Shu laughed, and hurriedly said, I'm sorry, I suddenly thought of something happy. The warriors of the first layer of Masruta suddenly turned gloomy, and they were actually ridiculed by a hairy boy. They twisted their bodies, pressed their finger bones, or twisted their necks, forcing the bones to make gurgling noises and make a ferocious appearance to increase their momentum. Boy, you just bring a little ghost to break into our Masruta. It's not enough for us to stuff our teeth, or go home to find your mother, and bring your mother with us to make us happy. A soldier with a beard and a blue cap walked slowly towards them. The smile on Li Shu's face disappeared at this moment, and his gaze became extremely cold, looking at the soldier indifferently. Bang! A muffled sound suddenly rose, and Li Shu instantly appeared in front of the soldier, punching him in the crotch of his pants, and the huge force made his whole person bow into greater than, and the unbearable pain was too late. The soldier's eyes bulged out, his mouth opened wide, but no sound came out, only an intermittent, hey, sound, and then he fell to the ground clutching his bleeding pants, squirming wildly. Except for Wukong, no one could see Li Shu's movements clearly, the speed like teleportation, and the ruthless methods, which made the other soldiers shudder, and their faces changed drastically, and cold sweat the size of beans involuntarily broke out on their foreheads. Li Shu looked at the soldier indifferently and took out a fairy bean for him to forcibly eat. What's your mother's name? Where to stay? After dealing with Masruta, I'm going to go and have fun with her. Li Shu pressed a finger against the chin of the soldier who had recovered from his wounds, and pushed him from the ground into the air. Such a terrifying power brought a great shock to the soldiers present, as well as to General White, who was monitoring the back. The soldier's face was full of horror, and he felt as if the finger was about to poke into his chin. What scared him the most was the other party's words and the indifferent expression. Even if they are evildoers, few people can be indifferent to the threats to their mothers. You'll tell me. Li Shu popped his eggs again and stabbed him in the jaw. The unbearable pain made the soldier hanging on Li Shu's finger twitch wildly, and blood dripped on the ground with a rattling sound. Wukong, the others are handed over to you, I want to have a good time with him. Li Shu was obviously really angry, and said without looking back. Wukong frowned slightly, but didn't say anything, but rushed towards the other soldiers, none of whom could block his move. After a few seconds, they all fell to the ground, losing their ability to fight, and the fear in their eyes was so thick that they almost overflowed their eyes. But this extreme fear does not come from Goku, but from the demonic man. Goku didn't stop and disappeared into the stairs leading to the second floor. Li Shu was not worried about Wukong's safety at all, and seeing that the soldier was about to die of pain, he took out another fairy bean and forcibly fed it. The mortally wounded and dying soldier suddenly came to life again, but his eyes were full of fear and despair. I won't let you die until I tell me your mother's information and address. Li Shu said softly, like a demon's whisper. The soldiers who collapsed to the ground, after seeing this scene, had a trace of joy in their eyes in addition to fear. Fortunately, they didn't insult the demon's mother at the time, and it seems that even the devil can't stand someone humiliating his mother. They secretly swore in their hearts that they would not make any moves to humiliate each other's closest relatives in the future. And just like that, after wandering back and forth several times from near death to regaining his life, the soldier finally broke down. He cried out bitterly, "Kill me. Please, kill me." Quote. Name, address. Li Shu said again. The soldier could not bear the torture and finally spoke up, and then cried bitterly, "Kill me. Kill me. Please. No, I'm going to take you back to mom." Li Shu's soft words fell on the soldier's ears like a nuclear explosion, making him instantly deaf, and his whole spirit began to be in a trance. Wake up. Seeing that the other party's mental state was a little wrong, Li Shu hurriedly fed another fairy bean. The soldier came back to life with full blood again, but his spirit had completely collapsed, and he looked a little out of his mind, shouting incessantly, "Kill me. Kill me. Mom. Mom. I want to go home." Looks crazy. Li Shu threw it on the ground casually, and he didn't get stuck in the achievement bug of saving lives and helping the wounded, which made him have a touch of regret on his face. Immediately, Li Shu's eyes looked at the other soldiers lying on the ground with frightened faces, and suddenly a new idea occurred in his heart. He decided to try the bug of punishing the rape and eliminating the evil. Li Shu walked in front of a soldier, and the soldier was suddenly frightened, and he was directly incontinent, and his body trembled uncontrollably. "What are you afraid of?" Li Shu lifted the soldier from the ground and looked directly at the other party. The soldier felt as if the man's eyes could eat people, and he shivered and trembled even more. "Please spare me," the soldier said tremblingly. Li Shu put him down gently, but the soldier's legs were already frightened, and he couldn't stand at all, and sat on the ground with panic in his eyes. "I need you to answer me a few questions." Li Shu looked at each other condescendingly, with a cold expression. The soldier nodded frantically, and at this moment, a soldier behind him got up and rushed out of the door while Li Shu was not paying attention. At the same time, Li Shu also moved, although he turned his back to the fleeing soldier, it was as if he had eyes behind him, and he could accurately judge the other party's every move. I saw Li Shu raise his hand and point behind him, and a ray of energy shot out, instantly piercing the heart of the fleeing soldier and killing him with one blow. This sudden scene made the remaining soldiers who had the same intention swallow a mouthful of saliva one after another, and their hearts were full of fear. As if nothing had happened, Li Shu said, "Tell me all the crimes you have done, and if I find out that you have concealed something, you have already seen the end just now. And you all get ready, I'll ask one by one." He turned his head and glanced around the other soldiers. Evil deeds. The soldiers froze for a moment, and now thinking about the evil deeds they had done, they were not worth mentioning in front of this demon. When I was a kid, I used to peek at my neighbor's aunt taking a shower. The soldier whispered. Li Shu looked at the soldier expressionlessly, and said in a deep voice, "I'll give you another chance to rephrase." The soldier rolled his Adam's apple, his forehead was covered with fine sweat, and he said with a little pain, "I killed my own father." Quote. Very well, it's okay. Li Shu interrupted the soldier's resting narrative, he didn't want to know why. Judging from the results, this crime was already a heinous crime. Li Shu came to the next soldier. "Tell me the biggest crime you've ever committed, such as the father who killed you just now, it's very punishable." The soldier trembled and said, I slept with my neighbor's wife, and when my neighbor found out, I killed all of them." In this way, the remaining soldiers confessed their crimes. I have to say that the crimes committed by these 8 soldiers are enough to be sentenced to death. If all these 8 people are handed over to the police, will it be considered punishment and elimination of evil? I guess so. And it's 8 vicious incidents, right? Li Shu immediately called the police and gave a simple explanation of the situation here, indicating that he had inadvertently smashed a criminal group in hope that the police would send police to finish it off as soon as possible. What? Masruta? Are you talking about the one that belongs to the Red Ribbon Legion and is located in Masruta, which is located in the north? When the police officer heard this position, his voice was full of surprise. You know, even their police are unwilling to offend the Red Ribbon Legion, because the power of this private armed organization can already be described as a warlord. The firepower is much more powerful than their small police station, unless the army can be dispatched. However, even if the army is dispatched, it is difficult to say whether it will win or lose. As far as he knew, not only the weapons and equipment in their police station, but also many advanced weapons and equipment in the army were purchased from the Red Ribbon Legion. The Red Ribbon Legion is already the most powerful arms dealer in the world, not only rich but also powerful. The northern branch of such a behemoth was destroyed by one man. It's unbelievable. In any case, when they received the call to the police, they were required to send police to check on them. Wait a minute, we'll arrange for someone to come over right away. Remember to send a few more escort vehicles, there are quite a few prisoners here, it is estimated that there are dozens of people. Li Shu couldn't help but admonish. Although he had only broken through the first layer so far, it would only take him 60 seconds at most to destroy the entire Masruta if he wanted to. If the bug card is successful, it will be an extremely rich reward, with a 5,000 achievement point reward for the Punish Evil Eradication quest, as well as the title of hero which can be said to be at your fingertips. Li Shu's behavior at this moment was very strange and incomprehensible in the eyes of the soldiers. Alarm. He actually called the police. The soldiers didn't react for a while, but they were quickly relieved, at least they didn't have to suffer the inhuman torture, and going to prison was not a matter for them at all, they were not afraid at all. With the strength of their Red Ribbon Legion, whether it is the police station, the detention center or the prison, they have to retreat 3 points when they see them, and they have to give face. In the perception of the soldiers, as long as the Red Ribbon Legion is not an enemy of the whole world, then it is invincible. No matter how strong the demon in front of him is, it is impossible to fight a behemoth like the Red Ribbon Legion. As long as they can survive the current crisis, they will inevitably gather more forces to retaliate in the future. Li Shu didn't know what these people were thinking, but he could see that they were puzzled by their behavior of calling the police. Now you have two choices. 1. I'll break your legs. 2. I'll pick 2. Without waiting for Li Shu to finish speaking, the soldiers hurriedly chose the second option and spoke in unison. Very well, the second option is also for me to break your legs. The soldiers suddenly despaired and looked at Li Shu in horror. The sound of broken leg bones rang out one after another, accompanied by screams of pain. In order to prevent these soldiers from escaping, Li Shu not only broke their legs, but also tied them up with ropes, and the police just took them away when they came. After solving the small minions on the first floor, Li Shu walked to the stairs leading to the second floor. At this moment, the Masruta command room. General White's face was full of shock, and beside him stood a ninja dressed in purple. The purple ninja's face was equally full of shock. It wasn't Li Shu who shocked them, but Sun Wukong. As early as when Sun Wukong entered the second floor, their attention was on Sun Wukong. In the eyes of General White, Sun Wukong can defeat 8 elite soldiers in just a few seconds, and his strength is far above Li Shu, so it is naturally more worthy of attention. That imp actually destroyed Colonel Metal with his bare hands. It's an android made entirely of metal. It's a terrible little ghost, but don't worry, the general can rest assured, Colonel Metal is an artificial man after all, and his IQ is not high, but it is just a defective product researched by Dr. Groh, which doesn't mean anything. With me on the third floor, they won't be able to break through. The purple ninja's hands were sealed, and they disappeared with a pop. When Li Shu came to the second floor, it was a messy scene. A headless android was lying motionless on the ground, and a slight electric current could be seen floating on its body, making a zizz sound. What is this android? I don't have any impression at all. This dilapidated artificial man looks more than 2 meters tall, and Li Shu didn't think about it after thinking about it for a long time, it seems to be a defective product. Quote. The appearance of Android 17 and Android 18 is after the Frieza plot, and there is still a long time before now, and there is still a long way to go in the development of androids at this stage. However, judging from the traces of the battle on the spot, Wukong did not win very easily, obviously suffering the first time against the android, and was caught off guard by the loss of inexperience. Judging by the blood stains on the ground, Goku seems to be still slightly injured. Unfortunately, the android had already suffered severe damage, and the Eye of War was unable to capture the combat power and manifest it. Visually inspect the appearance of about 50 combat strength. Li Shu couldn't help but smack his tongue, and had to admit that the doctor behind the Red Ribbon Legion was a real genius. At this stage, such a powerful android can be created, no wonder it can be created in a few years to create an android with the strength of number 17 and no 18. If this doctor is co-opted, there should be a reward for hidden achievements, right? Li Shu had a bold idea. It would be a pity if such a person died. If this genius doctor can be given enough time, maybe one day in the future, it is not impossible to create an artificial human comparable to the god of destruction. If I'm not mistaken, a perverted species like Shalu was also created by this genius doctor. It's really unimaginable that a powerful being who can create a bunch of instant kills called Frieza the Emperor of the universe with just scientific and technological means. Even in the late stage, the surviving Android 17 also participated in the power conference jointly organized by the multi-universe destruction gods, and those who were eligible to participate were the strongest in each universe. If Dr. Genius were still alive, it would be hard to imagine how far he would have been able to develop the android technology. Maybe it's the same as the Saiyan, and finally make a super android, a super blue android, and the god of the android, and then learn through AI, and deduce the performance of the free and extreme intention to load it on the android, and Jillian will give you seconds. The more Li Shu thought about it, the more excited he became. He really wanted to see this plot. This genius doctor, he is bound to win. The plot of Dragon Ball has been revised, I said it. Just when Li Shu was emotionally uncalm, a ding sound suddenly sounded. Ding. Congratulations, trigger the hidden achievement quest, Dr. Grow's future, and save Dr. Grow at a critical moment to turn him right. Quest reward. Android Handbook. Please note that if you fail a hidden mission, the reward will disappear permanently. Li Shu's eyes lit up suddenly. Sure enough, it was exactly what he thought. Emotions are the key to triggering tasks. Not only other people, but also myself can be triggered. This is undoubtedly good news. Li Shu hurriedly took out a small notebook and wrote it down. Li Shu, who had finished making the record, did not rush upstairs. His cultivation purpose was different from that of Wukong. He was mainly here to do tasks. I also tested killing a soldier just now, but I didn't get the progress of punish the evil. In other words, meaningless fights do not accomplish this task. Opening the doors of the rooms on the second floor, Li Shu looked forward to finding some criminals. To be able to join the Red Ribbon Legion, known as the most evil organization in the world, the people in it are not good people without exception. More or less have committed some crimes, and it is undoubtedly a good place to brush up on tasks. In Li Shu's eyes, all of them are task indicators, and naturally they can't let go of any of them, and they all have to break their legs and be captured alive. It's not certain whether the bug will be successful, but if it does, it would be a loss if you didn't prepare in advance. It won't take too long to verify the results, just wait for the police to come. Li Shu was very patient, and did not let go of any room, as well as the place where people could hide, not even the mouse hole, and directly blasted it open to see if there was a secret room inside. But to his regret, no one was found, and he didn't know if he had already fled. It doesn't matter, if you want to escape, you have to run up, you are blocked downstairs, and you can't escape any of them. Even if he flies a plane, it is useless. With his current flight speed and the ability of dinosaur legs to resist the sky, he has an absolute dominance in the air chase battle. Escaping in a flying apparatus will only become a living target for him. When he came to the third floor, the scene in front of him surprised Li Shu. Forest. There is even a man-made lake. Li Shu opened his eyes, and the third floor was turned into the ecological environment of the primeval forest. There is also a wooden house next to the man-made lake, but Goku and the enemy are not seen. Li Shu only sensed it slightly, and sensed Wukong's chi somewhere on the third floor, as well as an unfamiliar chi. Judging from the strength of the chi, the unfamiliar chi is not too strong, and when converted into combat effectiveness, it is about 50. The direction of action of these two chi is exactly where he is now, so Li Shu didn't bother to go to Wukong, just waiting here. Looking at the wooden house, Li Shu couldn't help it a little. How could he do it if he didn't go to search for it? As soon as he entered the house, Li Shu saw that the wooden bed was full of cool magazines. Li Shu quietly picked up a copy and flipped through it. The turtle immortal must like to read it. I just helped him keep it, but I have to check it first. After all, the requirements of the turtle immortal are still quite high. This is not too small. The turtle immortal likes the big one. At this moment, Wukong and that strange breath had already appeared outside the door. What are you doing? Put it down. Put it down. That's what I've treasured for years, and I can't buy it outside. At the same time, an angry voice suddenly sounded behind him. Big brother, do you like to watch these as much as Grandpa Turtle Immortal? Goku's voice also came. Cheeky LV1, passively triggered. Li Shu stopped the movements in his hand, turned around without a red face and a heartbeat, and said seriously, Wukong, you also know that the Turtle Immortal likes to watch, but what you don't know is that he is very demanding. Big brother, I am testing the quality, not watching, and I will take it back to honor his old man when the time comes. Big brother, I'm reading Spring and Autumn. Spring and Autumn. Goku apparently didn't understand what it meant. You have seen my treasure. I wanted to play with you, but now I'm going to get serious. Anyone who has seen my treasure will die. The purple ninja was furious. His left hand grabbed the hilt of the long sword behind his back, and his right hand made a seal in front of him, with a solemn look on his face. Let me show you what is the strength of the upper ninja. Li Shu's eyelids lifted. Combat strength, 53. It's not that Li Shu hasn't seen the Hokage, but the upper ninja in front of him and the upper ninja in the Hokage are completely two different concepts. The upper ninja with a combat power of 53 is really a bit ridiculous. However, playing ninjutsu in the Dragon Ball world, the upper limit is already limited. It can only be said that the ninja in front of him, who is dressed in purple and still wearing black mesh underwear, has chosen the wrong profession and is useless. I saw the purple ninja's eyes glare, and with a song, he left an afterimage in place, and his true body had disappeared. Hey, he's gone. Goku stared around with wide eyes. He hadn't seen the purple ninja's movements just now. Li Shu also didn't see it clearly, which surprised him a little, but the combat power of 53 above his head, and the chi that was not hidden, exposed the whereabouts of the purple ninja. That's it. Li Shu looked at the place where the purple ninja had been standing with strange eyes, and there was a piece of cloth on the ground with a texture and color similar to the ground. To tell the truth, this cloth is well made. If it weren't for the fact that there was a person hiding underneath, which made the ground bulge, it really wouldn't be visible at a glance. A ninja who can't completely hide his own chi, and his IQ is still a little problematic. This is the first impression evaluation given by Li Shu. Here, even Goku, who didn't seem very smart, soon discovered the hiding place of the purple ninja and walked on it and danced happily. The purple ninja screamed in pain, got up from the ground in an instant, and looked at the two of them in shock. You were able to break my invisibility. Li Shu looked at the ninja speechlessly, and he didn't know if this guy was really stupid or pretending. Such inferior methods are probably found by everyone. But either way, he wasn't going to waste time. Not this time. The purple ninja's next words surprised Li Shu. I wasn't ready just now. Now you close your eyes and count for 30 seconds, if you can still find me, even if you are amazing. Li Shu was speechless and planned to do it directly, but Wukong laughed and said, okay, but I can only count to 16, you have to tell me how to count after 16. Quote. Alas. Quote. Li Shu held his forehead with one hand and said speechlessly, Wukong, you play slowly with the ninja. Big brother, I will go up first, remember to capture it alive, big brother is in urgent need. Quote. Okay big brother. Wukong nodded seriously, wrenching his fingers to think about what is behind 16. Don't go. You haven't seen my true ninjutsu yet. The purple ninja dodged and stopped in front of Li Shu. Get out. Intellectual retardation. Li Shu couldn't bear it anymore, so he slapped it away and walked towards the 4th floor. At the moment when he stepped on the stairs, he suddenly felt 4 unfamiliar chi around him, which made Li Shu startled, and he hurriedly jumped back. At the same time, a series of cold lights suddenly lit up, accompanied by a large number of sounds of breaking the air, all of which were boomerangs, shurikens, plum blossom darts and other hidden weapons, shooting towards his previous location. After dodging the sneak attack, Li Shu looked at it and was immediately shocked. I saw 4 identical purple ninjas appear in front of me. Doppelganger. Li Shu looked back at the purple ninja just now, who was making strange movements with his hands sealed. Truly, you can see how powerful my ninjutsu is, this is a doppelganger. The purple ninja laughed, smiling proudly. Doppelganger. Li Shu was a little puzzled, he looked at the combat power on the head of another ninja. Combat strength. 45 combat strength. 51 combat strength. 39 combat strength. 49. Closing square bracket. And the different 5 chi are not the same person's chi at all. Are you really a doppelganger? Li Shu asked suspiciously. As he spoke, without waiting for the purple ninja's answer, Li Shu made an instant move, and the speed was extremely fast, leaving an afterimage of the ground. The 4 purple ninjas screamed at the same time, accompanied by the sound of broken leg bones. The purple ninja who was posing in the shape of a doppelganger technique was stunned by the scene in front of him, and a flash of fear flashed in his eyes. You call this a doppelganger? Li Shu asked with a strange expression. You can't be quintuplets, right? Quote. Was. You found out. The purple ninja said in fear, then turned around and ran without the slightest hesitation. Li Shu had just solved the 4 younger brothers of his compatriots in an instant, and his great strength had completely destroyed his confidence. Wukong, these people are too weak to have the effect of cultivation, so let's solve it as soon as possible. In the purple ninja, Li Shu had completely lost his patience, and added, when the time comes, the eldest brother will accompany you to fight. Really? Eldest brother. Goku was so excited that he jumped up from the ground with joy, took out the golden hoop stick behind his back, and instantly chased after the fleeing purple ninja and knocked him to the ground with a stick. Li Shu tied up the quintuplets in a knot to prevent them from escaping, and then walked towards the 4th floor. General White in the monitoring room, such a result already frightened him. We can't go on like this. General White took out his walkie-talkie and yelled, bring Cyborg 8 here. Quote. On the 4th floor of Masruta, Li Shu looked at the empty surroundings and fell into deep thought. Why is there no one? Where are all these people hiding? Li Shu felt very puzzled. From the outside, this Masruta is the 5th floor at its highest. Could it be that they are all concentrated on the 5th floor to protect General White? It seems that this is the only possibility. Just as Li Shu was looking for the stairs leading to the 5th floor, he found himself lost. The structure of the entire 4th floor is like a labyrinth. It's really nerve-wracking. I'm a road idiot. Li Shu directly summoned the holographic Dragon Ball radar, and turned on the navigation. With the help of navigation, it was not long before the stairs leading to the 5th floor were found. The moment he stepped onto the 5th floor, Li Shu was overjoyed because he was surrounded by a group of soldiers armed with guns. The innermost door opened at this moment, and General White walked to the door, not approaching Li Shu and Wukong. In front of him, there was also a tall and strong man, who looked very strong. I didn't expect you to find it so quickly. Since you are in a hurry to find death, I will fulfill you. Do it, kill them for me. General White gave the order, and the soldier immediately pulled the trigger, and a dense burst of bullets was fired. However, all this is in vain for Li Shu and Wukong. The two of them divided 5 by 2, knocking all these soldiers to the ground in an instant, and Li Shu even broke their legs. Android 8. What are you still standing? If you don't hurry up, kill these 2 for me. General White's eyes swelled with fear, and he yelled angrily at the strong man in front of him. Android 8. Li Shu suddenly became alert, although he didn't remember the plot of Android 8 at all, but the strength of this kind of numbered android should not be underestimated. Just when Li Shu was waiting for him, the words of Android 8 made everyone stunned. I don't. In 2 short words, it is said to the point. Even Li Shu wondered if he had heard it wrong. Weren't you in the same group? Only to hear Android 8 continue, I won't help you do evil. You dare to disobey my orders. Have you forgotten who made you? We are your parents. Annoyed, General White pulled out a red-buttoned remote control from his bosom. Have you forgotten that you still have a bomb in your body? If you dare to disobey my orders, I will blow you up right now. Cyborg 8's face suddenly showed a look of embarrassment. Not only that, but I'm going to kill all the people in your village. Your village chief is still being held by me, and you don't want anything to happen to him, do you? It just so happened that Dr. Gro's experiment was still a few test subjects. General White gritted his teeth and threatened. Android 8 finally relented, and he stepped out to stand in front of him. Li Shu frowned and looked at Android 8. I don't know why, the eye of fighting did not show the opponent's combat power value. He couldn't detect the presence of qi in the other party. Therefore, it is not possible to make an accurate judgment. It seems that the eye of fighting needs to be upgraded a little more. Li Shu thought secretly in his heart. As for General White on the side, Li Shu didn't pay attention to the pitiful 20 points of combat power at all. At this moment, Wukong on the side suddenly moved. His speed was extremely fast. He directly bypassed the android, and kicked the remote control in General White's hand. Under General White's terrified gaze, Goku stepped on the remote control with a few kicks. General White panicked and hurriedly retreated to the command room and locked the door. Wukong smiled at Android 8 and said, Uncle, I'll help you destroy the remote control, so you don't have to help them do bad things. Quote. Thank you. Android 8 also had a happy smile on his face, and continued, I'm going to rescue the village chief. I'm afraid I can't help you deal with General White now. Quote. By the way, what's your name? Monkey King. Son Wukong, thank you again. After Thanksgiving, Cyborg 8 leaves to save the imprisoned village chief. Without the obstruction of Android 8, Li Shu kicked open the door of the command room, thinking that there was some secret room inside, and General White had already escaped. Unexpectedly, General White sat in it decently, and the previous panic had disappeared. I have to admit that I underestimated you. I've already hidden the second planet. If you kill me, don't even think about finding it in this life. General White smoked a cigar and looked fearless. Li Shu glanced at the holographic Dragon Ball radar, then pointed to the wall next to him and said, there is a treasure room here, and the 2 planets are in it. General White's face changed suddenly, and he looked at Li Shu in shock. How do you know? Then he became depressed and sat there weakly. I'm sorry, but we have a more accurate Dragon Ball radar. Li Shu and Goku took a step forward. The corners of General White's mouth suddenly rose, and a triumphant smirk appeared on his face, and he quickly pressed a button on the console. I saw that the floor under Li Shu and Wukong's feet suddenly cracked, and the 2 fell down instantly. Ha ha. You're dead. Any idea what's down there? That's a big fat dragon from the demon realm. Even if you can fight again, it's useless. Ha ha. General White's laughter stopped abruptly, and the smile on his face immediately froze, dumbfounded. I saw that Li Shu and Wukong actually flew up, suspended in midair, and looked at him with a sneer. Fly. Fly. No way. It's absolutely impossible. Why do you fly? Big brother, what is the big fat dragon? I heard that he looked very powerful, and I wanted to ask for advice. Both of them ignored the shocked General White, and Goku said with high spirits. Okay, I'll leave it to Big Brother here. Li Shu knew Wukong's character, and there was no reason to refuse. To be honest, he was also quite curious about what the big fat dragon was. By the way, remember to catch it alive, maybe it's delicious. After Li Shu admonished him, Wukong flew down excitedly. After Wukong left, General White's screams soon rang out in the command room. At first, General White's mouth was quite hard, and he would rather die than give in. But after eating a few fairy beans, after experiencing that he couldn't survive and couldn't die, he finally compromised and confessed his crime. And the whereabouts of Dr. Grow? Do you have a picture? Li Shu asked. General White shook his head. I haven't seen Dr. Grow either. Li Shu said regretfully. Now you have 2 choices, the first one. Forget it, I'd better just break your legs. In the command room, the miserable screams of General White rang out again. Then, Li Shu opened the door of the treasure room with a punch, and looted the 2 planets and the money inside. By the way, how many of you are in Masruta? Li Shu asked again, is there a roster? 73 people, the roster is in the drawer. General White was completely frightened and did not dare to conceal it in the slightest. Li Shu glanced at the list, counted the soldiers tied to the ground, and found that there were still 3 left. There are 3 people left, and they called over. General White pointed to his leg and looked at Li Shu in fear. Can you lift me to the console? I'm sorry, I'm a little heavy, but I'm also doing this for your good. If you don't break your legs, you'll try your best to escape. If you run away, I will kill you, so I broke your leg to save your life, you have to understand me. Are you talking about human words? General White looked at Li Shu with even more horror. Also, I know you're having a hard time right now, but you have to learn to overcome it on your own. Don't you always add trouble to others, don't you still have hands? You can crawl over here. With the unremitting efforts of General White, dragging the crippled body, he finally climbed to the console and called the remaining 3 people over the walkie-talkie. Big brother save me. At this time, Wukong's voice calling for help suddenly came from below. Li Shu's face changed. It shouldn't be. In his perception, the strength of the big fat dragon locked up underground is a big difference compared to Wukong. At most 60 combat power, how could Goku not be able to beat it? Before he had time to think about it, Li Shu grabbed General White on the side, and under his frightened expression, they flew underground together. You're crazy. Here's a big fat dragon down there. Quote. Get up there. Hurry up and get up. I don't want to die yet. We're all going to die. I admit that you are strong, but you don't know anything about the power of the big fat dragon. Please. Don't fly any further. Quote. General White was crippled and struggling frantically in Li Shu's hands, and the fear of death made him forget the pain of his wound for a moment. Ignoring General White's pleas and advice, Li Shu sped up and was already able to see what was happening below. I saw a creature covered in pink, with an extremely fat body and an extremely ugly appearance, with 2 soft tentacles on the top of its head, which were emitting electricity. Under the attack of the electricity, Goku was unable to move by the electricity, his face was full of pain, and his tongue was spit out. Combat power, 65. Looking at the combat power on the top of the big fat dragon, Li Shu was a little hard to believe that Wukong actually lost to this ugly thing. But after thinking about Wukong's fighting style at this time, he was quickly relieved. Maybe at the beginning, I had a playful heart, and I didn't take it seriously, and I wanted to try the limit of the big fat dragon, but I was caught off guard. Judging from the size of the big fat dragon, this monster is fat and should be very resistant to beating. Li Shu flew in the sky, and when he raised his hand, a ray of energy shot towards the tentacles of the big fat dragon. The imaginary picture of the tentacle breaking did not happen, but only the tentacle was crooked a little. Although he didn't do much damage, he interrupted the attack of the electric current, and Goku recovered from his paralyzed state with a look of fear on his face. He never thought that this monster would actually discharge. Big brother, my attack hit this monster, he didn't do anything at all, not even the turtle sect Qigong had no effect. Wukong frowned and said with a look of confusion. The person has been saved, let's go up quickly, you can't fight the big fat dragon, this is our Masruta's last secret weapon. General White hurriedly urged. Li Shu ignored him, it was impossible for him to leave. Because just now, the sound of the system sounded. Ding! Congratulations, triggering the limited time achievement mission, White's shock. Mission requirements. Kill the big fat dragon in seconds within 30 seconds. Reward. Epiphany Potion Boosting Scroll. Epiphany Potion Boosting Scroll, as the name suggests, 100% success. With this reward, how could Li Shu let it go? Keep your eyes open and look at it, it's you, who don't know anything about my power. After saying this, Li Shu's gaze began to become fierce, and a terrifying aura was rapidly climbing in his body. If General White could see the combat power above Li Shu's head, he would find that the value was skyrocketing wildly. A few hundred points a second. The powerful chi almost condensed into substance, turning into a white aura that enveloped Li Shu. His combat power at the moment has soared to 1370 points. But the speed of the increase in combat power has not stopped or slowed down, but is still rising wildly. Combat strength, 3000. Ode. Wukong and General White's eyes widened at this moment, only to see that the white aura around Li Shu's body had turned golden at this moment. Not only that, but even the hair has turned blonde. Combat power, 4950. At this moment, Li Shu was surrounded by golden aura, his golden hair stood up, and his angular face looked like a sense of oppression that was not angry and arrogant. It's the Super Saiyan form. The original 50-fold increase in combat power has been increased to 52 times after the Saiyan bloodline has been increased to LV1. Combat power 5148. vs combat power 65. Just the wisp of coercion released by the Super Saiyan form suppressed the big fat dragon and couldn't move, and his eyes were full of horror. Li Shu turned sideways and stretched out his right hand to aim at the big fat dragon, and the terrifying energy fluctuations quickly condensed in his palm, emitting a blue light. Boom! With the blessing of the charged buff, a moment later, a violent turtle sect qigong surged out, completely submerging the big fat dragon, and the wall behind it instantly blasted out a big hole. When the terrifying turtle chi function dissipated, the figure of the big fat dragon was no longer visible, and it had already disappeared. The howling cold wind, accompanied by goose feather-like snowflakes blowing from the broken hole, made the frightened General White shudder back to his senses, and then suddenly looked at the man covered in golden light on the side. His eyes were full of indelible shock. Wukong on the side was already shocked, and this powerful force made him feel fear from the depths of his soul. Ding! Limited time achievement mission, White's shock, completed. Quote. Get the reward. Epiphany Potion Boosting Scroll. Plus 10 achievement. The corners of Li Shu's mouth rose and he withdrew from the Super Saiyan mentality. Under normal circumstances, he was not sure that he would kill the big fat dragon with one blow. After all, Wukong's combat power is the same as his, and even Wukong can't break through the defense of the big fat dragon, and I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to do it. There were only 30 seconds to spare, and in order to ensure the completion of the task, Li Shu decisively used all his strength, not wanting any accidents to happen. At the same time, he also wants to experience what it's like to transform into a Super Saiyan. Not to mention, it's pretty cool. It's just a bit physically draining, and he can't last too long with his current 99 combat power physique. In just a few seconds, he felt like his strength was almost exhausted. Fortunately, there are a lot of fairy beans, and after the transformation, he ate one, and his state returned to his peak. With the end of Li Shu's transformation, General White and Wukong came back to their senses. It's so strong. Wukong looked at Li Shu excitedly, his eyes full of war. General White was already stunned, how could his jaw not close, and he looked at Li Shu in shock. Coincidentally, as soon as Li Shu finished dealing with all the enemies in Masruta, a rapid siren sounded in the distance. 5 police cars sped along the snowy road. But when they got close to Masruta 500 meters, they stopped, and 2 men got out of the car and watched with binoculars. Li Shu dragged General White out of Masruta, waved at the policeman 500 meters away, and shouted. Here. Come on. They've all been subdued by me. The police officer holding 2 binoculars in the distance suddenly showed a look of shock on his face. Naturally, they saw General White dragging in Li Shu's hand. There are many people in the Red Ribbon Legion, they all have records in the police department, and they are no strangers to General White. I saw the 2 police officers put down their binoculars, said a few words to the people in the car, and then got back into the police car and drove towards Masruta. Li Shu was too far away to hear what he was saying, but as long as he came over. Whether the bug can be successfully stuck depends on this last critical moment. Thanks for watching.